The Mexican Grand Prix just took place a couple of days ago, and let's go through how each of the drivers have performed, starting from the guy who came last and ending with the race winner, starting with Yuki Tsunoda. These guys desperately needed to score some points, especially Yuki Tsunoda. He started ahead of Liam Lawson in Austin, and he finished behind him. He made a few mistakes in the race, he got that penalty, and he was on pressure to deliver because he is competing for the second Red Bull seat, currently occupied by a mentally retarded Sergio Perez. And he needed to deliver. Didn't really work out in the practice sessions, first two practice sessions at least. He was looking strong. P7 in FP3 as well, not bad at all, but everything went to shit from qualifying. He crashes out in qualifying, gets knocked out in Q2 as a result of that, knocks his teammate out of Q2 as a result of that. Liam Lawson was also on a good lap, we'll talk about him in a second. And the race was just an unfortunate incident when these type of squeezes happen, when multiple drivers, all desperate to make up a position in the beginning, go like that. These kind of things are bound to happen, and in case of Yuki Tsunoda, he was the unlucky car who DNF'd. On to the next one. Alexander Albon did really good in the qualifying, definitely had point scoring potential. I was thinking right after the qualifying and looking at his pace overall, I was predicting like a P9 or a P10 finish. Maybe he will even one up one of the Haas's, who knows. I thought he would finish good. Unfortunately, he also got caught out in the same sequence of events. Really bad weekend on Alexander Albon's side of the garage, because he also broke the car in one of the practice sessions, and he blamed it on Oliver Bearman. I think it was FP1, because Oliver Bearman was in FP1. And terrible weekend overall, and got unlucky in the race. Made that mistake in the first practice session. I just want to make that clear. We go to the next one. Fernando Alonso, the 400th Grand Prix, retired. In his 300th Grand Prix, he also retired, and the same thing happened in 200th Grand Prix as well. The 100th one, he actually came P3. That was a good result. I think it was Bahrain. Either way, so the tradition continues. Something was stuck in his brake ducts or something, and the temperature shot up. Smoke started to come out. The team told him bring in the car slowly, and that's what it did. It is what it is. We move on. Sergio Perez started P18 because, like, in the post-qualifying interview, he clearly said that when I'm braking into a corner, either I'm locking up or I'm overshooting it. Like, he doesn't know how to stop the car into a corner. In a Red Bull, he's supposed to be helping Max Verstappen win championships. Let's be honest, that's what the second Red Bull seat is all about. Anyway, P17 though, for this guy, it may appear that he made up a place, but not really. He came P17 because all three of the guys, like, there were 3 DNFs. That's why he came in P17. So, started the race at P18, puts his car 1 meter ahead of the yellow line in the starting grid position, gets a 5-second penalty because of that. Had a good start though, good run into Q1 because he was a little bit ahead. Made up, I think, 5 places into turn 2. I mean, by the time the straight towards the end of turn 3 came to an end, making good progress, not really slicing through the field, but he was still going ahead and making progress. It seemed like maybe he would finish just outside of the points, which could still be respectful. He was not ever scoring points. I predicted a DNF for this guy anyway. Then collides with Oscar Piastri, gets passed by Lance Stroll. Like, it's just a terrible weekend at home ground. And then towards the end, Liam Lawson overtook him and gave him the finger. I mean, overall horrible weekend. In the post-race interview, he was talking about how it was everybody else's fault and it was not his fault. Makes him really bad. Maybe he needs to delude himself a little bit to get that extra performance out of him. Maybe he needs to gaslight himself into believing that he is still good. I don't know what's going on there. But horrible performance. Red Bull should absolutely fire him. This guy cost him the Constructors' Championship, not from P1 to P2, but from P1 to P3 because Red Bull are P3 in the Constructor Championship. Moving on, we have Liam Lawson. Had a good start in Austin, went from P19 to P9. This race was absolutely opposite. As I was mentioning earlier, he got knocked out of Q2 when Yuki Tsunoda crashed into the barriers, and his race was really not that better. He struggled for the most part, made some few places here and there, had that crash with Sergio Perez. A few laps down the line, he had that crash with Franco Colapinto. Then Red Bull were desperate to get the fastest lap point off of Lando Norris, I think. And they attempted with both of these guys. None of them could do it. It went to Leclerc in the end. But horrible weekend from Liam Lawson, and he was just unlucky in the sense because he was on a good qualifying lap. They were looking good throughout the weekend. The team was looking good. He probably could have scored some points, which was absolutely crucial in their battle with Haas for P6 in the Constructors' Championship. But he was just unlucky in the broad sense if you think about it, because everything went wrong for him since the qualifying session. And in Mexico, qualifying is, I think, as critical as it is in Monaco. Not on Monaco levels, but like comparable. We move on. Guan Yu Zhou. He said he felt really good in the car, had a decent first stint, but probably because people are going out and there were safety car restarts and things were getting reshuffled around like lap 20 or something like that. He was doing good, but towards the end he dropped down. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he felt good. Maybe the car deteriorated even more through the race, but they were not scoring any points. Let's be honest with that. We move on with Valtteri Bottas. He was looking competitive, and he in the post-race interview suggested that maybe they could be, finish right outside of the points. They were slightly competitive with Colapinto and all this type of people, Esteban Ocon at one point. So he had a good race. It seems that whatever upgrade they brought to, I think the previous weekend, it was, I think, Austin, one set of upgrade, it was fitted to Valtteri's car. I think they find out the right setup to make it work. They looked a little bit more competitive, but absolutely not enough to even challenge for the points, to let alone do anything like that. I don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, but if Haas is doing it, I mean, you should be able to do better. That's all I'm going to say. We move on though. Esteban Ocon started from the pit lane because he got a new power unit and really had nothing much to do in the race. He did his own race, went through it. Obviously, he ran into people here and there, and not like ran into being collided, but he went and had some decent overtakes, I guess you can call them. Really nothing much to talk about. Started from the pit lane, finished P13. I didn't expect to... no one expected Esteban Ocon to come and score any points in this weekend, considering he's shit. It is what it is. We move on though. Franco Colapinto. I was thinking that this guy could maybe go for P10 again. I was expecting a valiant drive, but I guess this is Mexico and it is one of those tracks where things can get really crazy. And it was crazy. It was a very crazy Grand Prix. Nothing really much to talk about throughout his race. It was a quiet race. And he was, I think, had some decent battles with Stroll and Ocon. Started P16, finished in P12. I think he can definitely score some points in Brazil. He scored some points in Austin. I think it was 1 point. I'm really excited about Franco Colapinto's future. It's really unfortunate that we won't see him next season in all likelihood. I hope the Red Bull rumors are true. I hope he's getting a seat somewhere in the grid because this guy definitely deserves it. I would not advise him to go into the Red Bull family because it's a mess. Like, their driver lineups are just trash. But amazing. Happy for Franco Colapinto. Did the best he could. Made an amazing overtake move against Liam Lawson. The crash was a racing incident. I don't think it was anything malicious like with Verstappen and Norris. We'll talk about that in a second. But People are criticizing him for the crash, but I don't think the crash was his fault. He made a good move, and I mean, the front wing just got hit with his rear right. Like, I mean, it is what it is. That's all you can say about that. Good performance though. Couldn't score in points. It's Mexico. I'm excited for Brazil. Lance Stroll. Horrible performance as usual. No, I'm joking. I mean, the car is really bad for Aston Martin, and their car will be still shit next year. They will just be competing for the sake of competing, and that's why Lance Stroll has lost interest in all of his media duties, and he's giving lame ass answers because he knows this and he's frustrated about that. Like, his whole career, if you think about Lance Stroll, it was a very predictable career. And I mean, early on he was in like different teams and different families and stuff like that, and those were shit cars. Those were in the back of the grid. Occasionally those cars had performance, and Lance had some bursts of performance as well, but his entire career, including till this day, he's in a shit car. And to his demise, his teammate is Fernando Alonso, and sometimes when the car is not shit, he outperforms him on such a level that everybody's like, oh, why the fuck this guy's in the team? But in reality, it's really nothing much he could do. He never got a good car underneath him to continually fight and continually, compete for points or like constructors or something like that. He didn't have that. Maybe a couple of seasons ago, when these guys just copied Mercedes, maybe at the time, but not much really. And I think he's just frustrated because he knows that Adrian Newey is not going to design the 2025 car. Most of their resources is for 2026. It is what it is. I didn't expect any points from these two guys. These are the guys, regardless of where they start, they're going to go backward in the race. Slightly ahead of Alpine in terms of race pace, but they're still behind Williams in the Kick Sauber level. Slightly better than Kick Sauber though. Up next, we have Pierre Gasly. Started P8, went backwards, finished P10. I was not expecting this guy to finish in points, but thankfully he did. In Austin, he qualified, I think, a P6, if I'm not wrong, and finished way outside of the points. Really disappointing weekend for him. The new upgrades, I think they found the right setup and they have executed their race in whatever level they could have perfectly. Lost out to a Haas and a McLaren. It is what it is. They should be happy with this performance considering their car is just horrible. Absolutely. Kevin Magnussen. Okay, now we get to the fun part. He struggled a little bit in the second stint, it seemed to me. But I guess it is one of those things related to Mexico. You can just chart it up to the weather and the wind and... Oh, oops. Okay. The weather and the wind and stuff like that. Had a good race. He had some problems in qualifying. I thought he could have qualified right up there with Kevin Magnussen. Maybe even better than Kevin Magnussen. He is better than Kevin in qualifying. You could say that about this guy, but obviously the same Mexico problems. The car was a little bit too high. It is what it is. And finished a respectful P9. Amazing performance by Kevin Magnussen. Amazing performance by the Haas team. This is why we love F1. Like, this guy is the reason. And now the both of the drivers are going along. They're beating the tar out of Red Bull's sister team. They're giving Red Bull nightmares. It's amazing. I mean, these guys are the reason why Liam Lawson drove like a madman and crashed into Sergio Perez. It sent shockwaves through entire Red Bull Formula One, sphere. These guys are doing it with a 300 people team. Amazing. Up next, we have Oscar Piastri. I was a little bit disappointed with how Oscar's weekend went. I'm a big Oscar Piastri enjoyer, and he made a mistake in qualifying. I think he had his lap time deleted. Really terrible luck, especially in Mexico, where overtaking is difficult, track temperature is tricky, anyone can go into anyone, safety car, chaos. Mexican Grand Prix is like, the streets of Mexico. I'm joking. I've never been there. But it's chaotic races, unpredictable, and he did the best he could, went from P17 and finished in P8. really good performance. He has to be happy with that. He was faster in the second stint, and this is a trend that I have been seeing with McLaren, that they're flying in the second stint, particularly towards the end of the race. His pace was phenomenal. I think like he just ran out of laps. If the safety car was not there in the initial few laps, I think something else magical could have happened. But it is what it is. Good performance. Didn't end his race without any points, which is a very, very positive thing, considering they are now in a tight battle with Ferrari for constructors. Ferrari is going to challenge these guys, and he needs to step it up. He cannot have bad qualifyings anymore. He needs to qualify, bro. Oscar Piastri, you need to fix your qualifying problems. Up next, we have the legend himself. So the legend started P7, finished P7 as well. Phenomenal performance. I mean, this guy is smoking the midfield. He doesn't give a shit. His defensive tactics are second to none. He just doesn't care. For him, all of the points, all of the Formula One, all of the controversies and everything is just fugazi. That does not exist for him. Like in the mind of Kevin Magnussen, he has charted them as like just feelings and emotions and a distraction, a figment of imagination. For him, that's what it is. He's the epitome of not giving a fuck. That's what I love about him. And he, again, one of the primary forces that is sending shockwaves through Red Bull headquarters, Red Bull F1 team headquarters, and the household of Christian Horner. Helmut Marko also. Very, very fun drive, really good drive. Oscar Piastri was behind the legend, almost like I think it was sub 2 seconds. He was catching up, and he's just thankful that the race was over. And in the post-race interview, he was all smiles ear to ear. Really happy to see that about Kev. Motherfucker doesn't have a drive, it's a shame. Let's move on about Max Verstappen, the most important driver on the grid right now. The only person who can defeat Max Verstappen is himself. If he drives the way he drove in Mexico, he will lose the championship. There is no other way to say that. If your target is to crash Norris out, collide with Norris, collecting both of you guys, either he crashes and I get a 5-second penalty, I'll shake it off, I'll score some points anyway because he has DNF'd. Or, like, I stay ahead and he doesn't get to have any more lead over me. That's a really horrible strategy, because it's gonna backfire. It's not like 2021 where you and Lewis are the only contenders. Right now there are the 2 Ferraris, the 2 McLarens. Like, it's not like your teammate, okay? Like, Oscar Piastri can perform and he is dangerous. He has some fight in him, and right now Lando Norris knows you're a piece of shit too, so he knows how to strategically make it look like what you are doing on the track, your shitty defensive tactics. People will know this. So you're gonna get significant amount of penalties, or you're gonna battle the wrong person in the wrong car in the wrong place, and you're gonna end up DNFing, and God forbid Lando Norris wins and takes 25 points on the fastest lap. Okay, your lead to championship is gonna go away just like that. If Max Verstappen drove like a mature person, P3 was definitely on the table. Definitely. Like, let's assume that, okay, Lando smokes him. Okay, he goes past, drives off into the distance. Charles Leclerc was struggling throughout the weekend. You could have made it a little bit difficult for you to overtake. You were a master at that. You're Max Verstappen. You don't need to crash into people. You're good. That was the whole point. Anyway, you could have defended well against Charles Leclerc and then maybe undercut him or something like that if he passed you on the track. And again, try to fight it. Even a P4 is significantly better than P6. You made a mess out of yourself. Now the FIA is looking at you. Each time you do something on the track, it's going to attract their attention. It's not good. 47 points, all right, good job. If you lose a couple points every race, you're still going to be fine. But if you take these kind of big risks to drive the championship contender out of the race, or you stay forcefully ahead, if that is your tactic, it's not going to work. There's simply too many good drivers on your level right now. Not on your level, but like the Red Bull is shit. or is gradually dropping in performance. So there are the two Ferraris you will have to deal with. Mercedes is occasionally not shit. Then there are the two McLarens that you have to deal with. If you get stuck in the wrong place or you crash out with the wrong guy, then you lose even more. And obviously you got like the FIA on your ass right now. So really immature drive from Max Verstappen. He could have done well. He could have like finished on the podium. I really believe Max Verstappen could have finished on the podium in Mexico. Just wait it out, bro. You have 71 laps. Okay, you don't have to be so trigger happy and it's now or never. Okay, just calm down. Let the race come to you. Maybe something would happen. We don't know. Maybe you will do better in the second stint than the Ferrari. Who knows? But again, he's Max Verstappen. He's going to do whatever the fuck he wants. It is what it is. Immature drive. If he continues in this fashion, he's going to lose his world championship. That'll be pretty funny to see, to be honest. But again, he's throwing away his championship. It's weird. Up next, we have George Russell. He broke the upgrades in the qualifying session in Austin. So now he's driving the old spec car. In the second stint, during his battle, we got to know that he had a broken front wing. I think the commentator was talking about like in the pits, they adjusted his front wing and they tweaked one side and they forgot to do the other. But in reality, like the race director cut to his front wing and it was broken on one half. So his balance was all fucked up and he still defended really well on an old spec car against Lewis Hamilton on Mexico, which is pretty impressive to see. Phenomenal driving, hard and fair racing by both of these two guys. He was defending like a motherfucker and Lewis was attacking too, and Max Verstappen should definitely take some racing tips from these two guys because what he is doing is not racing. A lot of people will disagree with me and he will say that, well, Max, just take advantage of the rules. Yeah, exactly. That's not racing. Exploiting a loophole in the rule book, you are polluting the sport. Either way, George Russell, good drive and good performance. Nothing much he could do. It's amazing to see that he gave us some good battles to enjoy throughout the race. It is what it is. There was nothing else going on. So it was fun to see both of the silver arrows going about it. Started P5, finished P5. Good points. Nothing else much to say. I hope they're more competitive next year. Up next, we have the Diva. He was good. Based on how much struggles he had, I think he didn't have a grip on the car throughout the Mexican GP race week. I think in the practice sessions, his car was shaking a lot. In the qualifying, he was not as clean as he could be. He was just struggling throughout the weekend and did some good wheel-to-wheel racing and good attacking against George Russell. It was fun to watch. His car was, I think, spec'd out, upgraded and stuff. I think this is the only team who had shit upgrades. Everybody else's upgrades work. Ferrari didn't even bring any upgrades. It's weird that Ferrari is suddenly so fast. We'll talk about them in a second though. But Mercedes upgrade, they brought it in Austin. You know, one set of it broke and his one is just marginally better. And even though it is better, it's probably because it's Lewis Hamilton. If like you give the car to someone like, I don't know, like Sergio Perez, that car ain't coming home. But again, like the car is just gone to shit. They have a shit car. Started P6, made up a couple of places. I think it was one of the Haas's or something. No, both of the Haas's qualified behind him. Oh, it was Max Verstappen. So one place he made up was Max Verstappen. Fun. You see, Max, you could have come ahead of him. It is what it is. Lewis Hamilton, good performance. I hope Ferrari remains competitive. Everybody's like, oh, Ferrari is not getting science. Bro, Ferrari is getting Lewis Hamilton. As cringe as he is, I saw the RPM video. He has connections with Puff. But at the same time, when he's in a Ferrari fighting for a world title, you want to see it. It's good. It's gonna be good. I hope Ferrari makes a good car. Ferrari versus Leclerc versus Norris versus Piastri. We don't want Max Verstappen. I want to see some clean racing. I don't want some guy coming in just exploiting the rules. All right. I want to see racing. Like this is a sport. This is motorsports. We come here to see racing and good moves, and all within the law. Be gentlemen. All right. Verstappen is, he had an abusive father, so I don't want it to be too hard on him. So he got left at a petrol station. Either way, we move on. Charles Leclerc, good performance and funny as usual. His emotions are very enjoyable. Started P4, had some struggles in the qualifying. He was really disappointed that Carlos was 3/10 ahead of him, and Carlos obviously took pole position. What an amazing drive by the smooth operator. We'll talk about him in a second though. Great performance, phenomenal performance. Started P4, finished P3 on the podium. Great driving. The only place he made up was Max Verstappen. Still was looking a little bit sus. He was still not sure that he was gonna be P3 in the race because he was not at all confident in the car, but I'm glad that it worked out. His battle against Norris was pretty good. He did everything he could, but the tires went out, so it's not like he made a mistake. I thought he made a mistake. Norris pressured him into making a mistake, but I forgot for a second that it was Charles Leclerc and he was defending well. Good performance, nothing better he could do, and I'm excited for Brazil, like I said. Up next, we have Lando Norris. He can very well win the championship. I think he's driving at a level which is enough to put some psychological pressure on Max, and he was ahead of him in the apex. He was ahead throughout the corner. Like, you can watch it in slow motion all you want. He was ahead throughout the corner and Max just ran him out, and after that Max tried to kill him. So phenomenal performance in avoiding those crashes. I hope he goes ahead and takes advantage of all of the mistakes that Max Verstappen does when he is under pressure. When Max Verstappen doesn't have a good car to drive, he is like, I am shoving up the championship contender off the track. That's the only thing I'm gonna do. And I think that's why he didn't defend well enough against Carlos Sainz. We'll talk about that particular moment in a second though. So Lando Norris did a phenomenal job in avoiding crashes with Max Verstappen because that's what exactly he was looking for. It's Max Verstappen. Anyone who believes that, oh, he's just defensive driving, no. He was looking to take this motherfucker out. And even if he goes out, it's fun, right? Like, both of them score 0 points. His lead remains intact. But this man took 10 points out of his chunk of lead, enough to put more pressure on Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Red Bull are losing battles on all fronts. Ferrari just pipped them for P2 in constructors. This guy just took 10 points out of Max's lead, and Max is getting more and more frustrated and desperate. It's gonna be fun, and he's getting a lot of these huge penalties. And if during the penalty you fight against Kevin Magnussen and you end up in the barriers, game over, son. That's K-Mag. He don't give a fuck. So anyway, Lando Norris finished P2. Good performance. He was catching Carlos as well. I don't think really he had the pace to catch and overtake Carlos. Carlos was actually right about Leclerc pushing too hard early on. He should have saved his tires to give Norris a bit more tough time. But phenomenal drive by Norris as well. He was quick. He was catching Carlos. I think just like Oscar Piastri, he ran out of laps. It is what it is. Good performance by McLaren. Right now, they need to put all of the things together. They need clean weekends from here to the end of the season. Because Ferrari, the way Ferrari is capitalizing on the horrible weekends that McLaren has and Red Bull has, fighting each other, strategy blunders, qualifying issues, etc., Ferrari can and will catch them in constructors. So these two need to, quit all the fucking around, get their qualifying in order, and have clean races. Up next, we have the smooth operator, winner of the race, phenomenal performance, started P1, got pipped by Max Verstappen in the first corner. We all knew it was going to happen. And then sends it down the inside into the same corner, and Max didn't even put up a much of a fight because he wanted to battle with Norris and crash him out of the race. That's literally what Max wanted to do. Either way, phenomenal performance. In qualifying, he already said it. After Carlos Sainz qualified in pole, he said that others around me have more to lose than I do, so I'm gonna fight tooth and nail for this fucking win. He wanted to win one more time in Ferrari, won in Mexico. I mean, he is not Mexican, but he's from the country that colonized Mexico, so I mean, there's a little bit of, you know what I mean, like they have shared history. Really good performance. The crowd was happy to see. I guess the colonized mindset is still there. I'm joking. Great performance by the smooth operator. Sent it down the inside of Max Verstappen, and his warning shot. Like, people know that this guy is gonna fight back. Max Verstappen knows. He was in the Red Bull family, so Max Verstappen probably knows a little bit more about Carlos, and he knows that if Max comes in, I'm not gonna back up. And Max was like, okay, I'm not even gonna fight with him, because if I DNF fighting this guy, then Lando Norris is gonna win and he's gonna score 25 points. Max was thinking, right? And again, this is the big problem with Max Verstappen. His strategy, I'm gonna make another video about this actually, like how Max Verstappen could potentially ruin his own Formula 1 World Championship title in 2024 by doing these dumb things. Drive like a mature man, bro. If you lose a few points every race, it's okay. But it's Max Verstappen. It is what it is. Amazing race by smooth operator. Needs to get his shit together and qualify on pole and not ruin the starts. You need clean weekends, not just to beat Max, but also to protect your lead in the Constructors' Championship. Great performance. Was not feeling comfortable in the car. One of those Mexico things. Could have done well, but he maximized everything out of this weekend. There's nothing else you could say about Charles. Has a shit car. Immature. He wants to give his world championship to Lando Norris by making these mistakes and attracting attention from FIA by doing dumb shit. Chad, I mean, what are you gonna do? Just got unlucky a little bit. Need to get his shit together in qualifying. Chad, this guy was unexpected. I didn't think Pierre Gasly is that good. I mean, nothing he could do. Had a shit car. Franco Colapinto did the best he could. Maybe in another race. Esteban Ocon, whatever. Doesn't have a good car. He's in trouble, but not really. Should quit his job. 400 Grand Prix. DNF'd. Tradition remains. Unlucky. I think unluckier, if there is another word like that. So that's Mexico. That's Mexican GP 2024. And thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you later.